Hi, this is a review for the Articles of Confederation through the Constitution test. Also included that would be the Declaration of Independence. So let's go over this together here. Number one, who was the primary author of the Declaration of Independence? Thomas Jefferson. So again, Thomas Jefferson, 33 years old from Virginia, was given the task of writing the Declaration. He was not the only person involved. There was editors, guys like Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, but the man who's given credit is Thomas Jefferson. Number two, what did the Declaration do? The Declaration is our founding document. It establishes, or it declares our independence from Great Britain, and it establishes the United States of America. The Declaration is not worth the paper it's printed on if the colonists do not, well, if the Americans do not win the Revolutionary War. When the war is won, obviously the Declaration takes on greater significance, but this definitely declared our Declaration to be independent from Great Britain. How many men signed it? 56. 56 men signed it, more from Pennsylvania than any other state. And John Hancock, famously from Massachusetts, he was the president of the Second Continental Congress, signed it so large that the king could read it without his spectacles on. Number four, who was the primary author of the Articles of Confederation? Pennsylvania's own John Dickinson. Number five, what were the greatest weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation? Greatest weaknesses, the ones that we point out in class are two things. One, the Articles of Confederation did not give the federal government power to tax. And two, it created one branch of government, which was a legislative branch. Therefore, no national system of laws, no executive to take charge when necessary or to enforce the laws. So taxes and only one branch of government. Again, other weaknesses, yes, but as far as the test goes, that's what I would focus on. Were there any successes? Yes. The Northwest Ordinance sets up the system that new states can enter the Union, also forbids slavery north of the Ohio River. Other than that, many would argue that the Articles was a pretty big failure. The intention was good. Remember, when the Founding Fathers created the Articles of Confederation, they were obsessed with avoiding a monarchy. So by giving power to the group, this is how they thought things would be best. Unfortunately, it backfired and created a very, very weak central government. Number seven, who is considered the father of the Constitution? James Madison. James Madison arrives in Philadelphia in 1787 with a framework for government already in place. He has to convince many others to follow suit, but he is considered the father of the Constitution. Eight, what was the Virginia Plan? The Virginia Plan is the big states' plan to have a bicameral legislature based on population. The New Jersey Plan, number nine, is the small states' plan to create a unicameral legislature based on the equality of the states. So the smaller states were more likely to like the Articles of Confederation because it gave equality to the states. So they got the Virginia Plan, which says based on population. You have a New Jersey Plan that says a legislature based on the equality of the states. The Great Compromise, again, you take both ideas and you compromise the two. So the Great Compromise is what we currently have in our system of government. You have two chambers of Congress. You have the House of Representatives that's based on the population of a state. Again, we mentioned in class, California has 53 House members. Pennsylvania has 18. Wyoming has 1. Then you got the Senate. The Senate is based on the equality of the states. Every state has 2 senators. So the two chambers of Congress, the Senate and the House of Representatives, make Congress. Number 10, which states ratified the Constitution first and second? So what happens is, when the Constitutional Convention is over, the 39 signers have to go back to their state legislatures and convince them to adopt the Constitution. The states that adopt the Constitution in the order that they adopt them in are the number of states. So let me rephrase that better. Delaware is the first state because Delaware was the first state to ratify the Constitution. Pennsylvania is the second state because Pennsylvania was the second state to ratify the Constitution. It took 9 states, I would remember that, 9 states to make the Constitution official. The 9th state to ratify the Constitution was New Hampshire. All right, the 13th was Rhode Island, and that wasn't even until after George Washington was appointed president. So, yes, Delaware first, Pennsylvania second. Number 14, why do we have 3 branches of government? We have 3 branches of government because we want to make sure that we have a system of checks and balances in place. We have a legislative, an executive, and a judicial branch of government. The Founding Fathers in Article 1 created the legislative branch. Legislative branch had more power than the other two branches. Article 2 creates the executive branch. Article 3 creates the judicial branch. So we have three branches because we don't want one person to run away with power. We're trying to keep a monarchy from occurring. We want to make sure that each branch can check and balance the other branches and make sure that one does not run off with too much power. 15, what is judicial review and what case does it come from? Judicial review is simply the power of the Supreme Court to review any law passed by Congress and declare it constitutional or unconstitutional. The Supreme Court, think of it as like the conscience of our country. The Supreme Court case that made it official was Marbury versus Madison. That was in 1803. 16, how many amendments are there to the U.S. Constitution? There are 27 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. The Bill of Rights, number 17. What is the Bill of Rights? The Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. Starts off, freedom of speech, religion, press, assembly, petition, all the way up through the States' Rights Amendment number 10. Over time, looking at the Constitution, when the Constitution was written in 1787, there were many imperfections. It was an outline of our government. So the Founding Fathers allowed for an amendment process. 2/3 of Congress and then 3/4 of the states have to ratify an amendment, which is a change to the Constitution, showing that it's not perfect, but that the document is a living, breathing document because it can be changed. Number 18, how many senators do we have? There are 2 senators per state. There are 50 states. There are 100 senators. Number 19, how many members of the House of Representatives do we have? 435 members of the House of Representatives. So there are 535 total members of the legislative branch, 100 members of the Senate, plus 435 House members equals 535 members of the legislative branch or Congress. Number 19. Number 20, how many Supreme Court justices do we have? We have 9 Supreme Court justices. Why 9? It's an odd number. There's always going to be a 5-4 or a 6-3 or a 7-2 decision. There's not going to be any ties with an odd number. Number 21, what does Article 1 of the Constitution create? Article 1 creates the legislative branch. Number 22, what does Article 2 create? That's the executive branch. Article 2 is the executive branch. Number 23, Article 3 creates the judicial branch. Number 24, who was the first president and vice president? First president was George Washington. He was unanimously elected by the Electoral College in 1789. The first vice president was history's number 2, John Adams. Number 25, it says very briefly, what do the following amendments say? Yes, I'd like you to write them out. We'll go through them. All right, First Amendment, again, we took our quiz. Freedom of speech, religion, press, assembly, petition. Freedom to speak out against your government. Freedom to practice your religion freely. The government cannot establish an official religion. Press is newspapers, television news, able to report what's going on with the government and should not be censored. Assembly, the freedom to gather in groups to protest. And petition is you can petition the government. You can get names written down and try to petition the government for changes. Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. Third Amendment, no quartering of troops in your home. The government cannot force you to house troops in your homes during times of war. 4, no illegal search and seizure of property. We talked about this. Your car gets pulled over. Your person is searched. Your house is searched. Your cell phone is searched. These are all Fourth Amendment issues. So they must have a search warrant or probable cause, depending on the situation. But to get a search warrant, there must be probable cause that a crime is being committed or something illegal is being done. Fifth Amendment, rights in criminal cases. You do not have to testify against yourself in court. You can plead the fifth. They must find evidence to convict you. Double jeopardy. You cannot be tried for the exact same crime twice. Eminent domain. The government can take your property by paying you fair market value if there's a public good that can come from this. The interstate highway system is an example of eminent domain. Grand juries, we'll talk about another time. Due process. You get arrested. You have your rights read to you. When you get to the jail, you have a right to a phone call. You have a right to have your lawyer present at interrogation. You have a right to have a lawyer in a courtroom. You have a right to a trial by jury of your peers. Sixth Amendment, this is fair and speedy trial. You must be informed of the charges that are pressed against you. They're not just going to haul you off and throw you in prison. You have to be told what the charges are. Have to have a public trial. It's not between you and the government. The private room is for the public, so that the government has to prove to the public the charges against you. You have to be able to face your accuser, and you have a right to an attorney. What if you cannot afford an attorney? One will be provided to you at public expense. Seventh Amendment, this is civil court. Anything worth over $20 can be taken to court. You can be taken to court for. Again, this is written in 1787, so $20 was a lot more than it is now. This is a court where you don't go to jail. You have to pay a fine, do community service, whatnot. But anything over $20. Eighth Amendment is no cruel or unusual punishment. The death penalty would fall under this. Excessive fines, bail. Again, if I steal a loaf of bread to feed my starving family and they chop off my hands, that would violate the Eighth Amendment. If I steal a loaf of bread to feed my starving family and they charge me $15 million bail, that's excessive. Ninth Amendment, I call it the just in case amendment. These are rights retained by the people. Just because it is a right not listed in the Bill of Rights doesn't mean that people do not have these rights, such as privacy. Abortion rights would be considered a Ninth Amendment issue with privacy. 10th Amendment, it's not on here, apologize. 10th Amendment is the states' rights amendment. Any law that the federal government doesn't have on the books, the states get to determine. The death penalty would be an example. Driving age, speed limit. These are all examples of 10th Amendment issues. All right, your test is 50 points this Friday, so good luck. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. If not, make sure you do all these questions here. They all count for a point each. Have a very good day.